pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll begin the meeting with a moment of silence, and during that moment of silence, if you could keep a couple of people in your thoughts and prayers. Dan Driscoll, who was one of our wiring inspectors, passed away since the last meeting. And right before the last meeting, Paul Huxham died, and I didn't see his obituary until the day after our last meeting, and it really pained me. His wife, Karen Huxham, worked in the building inspector's office, and his sister, Katrina Patton, worked in she was an administrative assistant in the police department for a long time. And what really pained me was that Katrina was in the very first class I taught at Massasoit 51 years ago. But if you could keep in your thoughts and prayers, please, Paul Huxham and Dan Driscoll. This meeting is being recorded and televised by WHCA. I'd like a motion to approve bill and payroll warrants.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Accept the correspondence in the read file. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Public forum. If there's anyone who'd like to speak on something that's not on the agenda, if they could do so now. Yes.
Thank you for recognizing me, Chair. I want to ask for your support.
And this is
I'm Rosemary Conley. I'm part of your Finance Committee, 405 Franklin Street. I want to ask for the support of this citizens petition. A few of our citizens, particularly veterans, have taken up to start a Veterans Discretionary Fund. As we know, a lot of our budgets are really squeezed tight, and we have little room to spare financially. So this fund allows for public fundraising and the officer to have immediate access to these things. The veterans are supposed to be able to, when a house burns down, the law says that they're supposed to go to their veteran service officer if they have immediate emergency needs. We don't have enough in that budget for them to provide immediate housing that night. It'd be nice for the fire chief to know to go directly to the veterans officer if they have a fire, that they can do something. Mm-hmm. I know that there's issues with how are you going to fund this. So I did go over to a town that has successfully had it for a few years and borrowed the language. I worked with Adam Gunn over in Abington to get the language down. I think I have almost 10 times the amount of signatures we need to get on. But I want to ask for your support when this does come up, and that we work together as a town to make sure that veterans' needs are met and that they are secure and safe in our community. And our veterans officer has the ability to immediately access the funds she needs to care for those veterans. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosemary. Would someone like to make a motion for the board to express its support for her project?
I'll make that motion.
There's a second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, there's not enough. We can't do enough for our veterans. It's plain and simple, in my opinion.
I think it's just a process question. In the past, citizens petitions, if they've come before us, we've taken the time to review it with council before placing it on the warrant. I think that just might be, I think you have enough signatures now? Yeah, okay.
I've made sure that it has the same wording.
Perfect, thank you.
That was my question. Is this going to be put on the warrant for the town meeting?
Any article with 10 signatures gets put on the warrant.
Way more than that.
Any more questions? Thank you, Justin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the first item on the agenda?
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, sorry.
This will teach Rick Anderson to give us a night off. I'm Kathleen Otina, 344 Washington Street. I'm also a Finance Committee member, and I do want to speak to an item that is on the agenda but may be pulled, and that's almost the last thing that's listed here, the suggestion that there would be a ballot question for a school override.
We're going to discuss it, we're not going to vote on it.
Not vote on it. Okay, is the school aware of this? Has the school?
No, they haven't asked, no.
All right, then I'll withhold any.
We're gonna discuss that when it comes to budget update. We're gonna discuss those
Discuss an
items.
override, Carl?
Pardon me?
Are you going to discuss an override, or what are you going to discuss?
Well, when we get to that budget update discussion, you can find out.
I'll sit tight.
It's now 5:07. Plymouth County Commissioners. Mary Beth?
Okay, yes. Tonight, we have the privilege of accepting Plymouth County ARPA funds, which will be used towards the Sewer Force Main project. The award of these funds through the Plymouth County ARPA program have made it possible to forego the full borrowing for this project, and instead, the town was able to redirect the borrowing of $2.2 million towards the new DPW building project, as was voted at the October 30th, 2023 special town meeting. And this evening, we have with us Tom O'Brien, the Plymouth County Treasurer. We had Jared Valenzola, Commissioner, and Sandra Wright, a Commissioner.
And Gregory Hanley.
And Gregory Hanley, yes, we have all of you. I am so
I'm saying we have our
impressed.
meeting tonight.
Wow. Good evening.
Chairs.
We have everyone.
That's right. Would you rather us go over there? Would that make more sense?
For the microphone, maybe? Yeah.
Instead, I could make the treasurer stand behind us as he prop us up. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Jared Valenzola, Plymouth County Commissioner and Chairman of the Board. I am pleased tonight to be joined by Commissioner Sandra Wright and Commissioner Greg Hanley, as well as Treasurer O'Brien. It's always exciting when we're able to come into our communities, especially the town of Whitman, and what a wonderful project. And to be able to use these funds for water projects is really, I think as we've talked about, the highest and best use. I've had the privilege of working with Mary Beth, your entire team here, your leadership team, your finance team has done a wonderful job advocating and making sure that they get these funds. And I do just want to also thank Senator Brady and Representative Solomon Almeida for their advocacy as well. We're very blessed
to have a wonderful team at the county that's been able to work to effectuate a level of savings. We're currently tracking at 1% administrative cost for this program. National average is 7 to 10%. Last time we were here talking about CARES, we were able to do that at 1% as well, too. So the county is providing more bang for its buck. But by virtue of keeping the administrative costs low, that's meaning more money for women. That means more money for the other 26 communities. So I do want to just quickly hand it over to my colleagues here to say a couple of quick words. I'll start with Commissioner Wright, if that's okay, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. Thank you for having us here this evening. Okay, thank you. It's always a pleasure to come in and support such a great project that you have going. It's a win-win for your community, and we're greatly appreciative of all that you've done. Your hard work has made it work, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I, too, rise to thank you. The privilege that we have is being able to review 27 communities' requests. And when I see a project like this, it's really doing the taxpayers of this town a great service, because it's money that's one-time money, using it for a capital need, and you're not borrowing. So your taxation actually is limited by that. And for you to make it a community standard, to make it something that's important to this community, I think it's important to mention that this means a lot. So congratulations, and when we see something like this, all three of us like to come, because really it's a blueprint for other communities, and we can't underscore the importance of it. So congratulations and good luck with it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Richard?
Thank you.
So I get to back clean up, which I very much enjoy. I wanted to just say quickly how much we appreciate coming to Whitman, and to tell a quick story, if I might. As many of you know, Mary Beth Carter is a dear friend. We've served together for a long time on the retirement board. Thank you for doing that. You're very lucky to have her here, as you know. But we were planning on coming here, and she calls me, once a week to see when you're getting our ARPA money? And so we were talking last week, and I was saying, Mary Beth, I have good news and bad news. And she goes, well, I want the bad news first. I said, well, I think the earliest we could probably schedule something to be at Whitman would be March, maybe April. She goes, well, that's bad news. She said, what's the good news? And I said, well, the good news is the commissioners voted last evening to award $2.2 million to Whitman. And she goes, well, the good news outweighs the bad, and we're not going to let the bad news stand. Is there any way you can be here? And I just would ask everybody to note that we're still in the month of February and scheduling a very quick time to be here to present the $2.2 million, because I was told that you could not wait any longer
God
to
bless
get
you.
your check. So, Mary Beth, not only are we bringing the big check, and we're hoping that the board allows us to take a picture with everyone,
Of course.
but I have the real check here, which I will want a picture of me handing to Mary Beth for the record that it was actually delivered and that it gets deposited quickly and in short order. I would also be remiss if I didn't thank a member of your board. Are you done hitting me with my own check? Without thanking Dan Salvucci, because Dan has been a member of our advisory board for as long as I've been the county treasurer, which is a long time, and even longer. And Dan remembers the days when the county wasn't as well off as we are these days, wasn't as well run as we are these days, and didn't provide for our communities the way we are today. And we've come a long way because Dan was there very early on in saying, listen, I know the county can do this. We just need to continue to support and regionalize. And he was a very early voice to make sure that we could be here and do these programs. And as all of the commissioners have mentioned, we're actually doing it better, faster, and cheaper
Absolutely.
than they are at any other level of government.
Absolutely.
Commissioner Valenzola, the chair, glossed over the fact that we're doing this at 1% administration, but when you realize the rest of the country is spending 5 to 7 to 8% to administer this program, what does that mean? More money for you. What does that mean? More work for me. But they like it that way. That's okay. But we're able to do that because we're closer, we're local, and when your administrator calls the county treasurer, he comes that week. It's amazing how that works. I'm also here to report that this is not our last trip, that we have another check coming in short order. And of course, as soon as Mary Beth calls, we'll come and deliver that too. I think she's making a few more arrangements here in town to make sure that happens. But
It'll
we're
be a
just
little
thrilled
bit
to be
shorter
here. I'm sorry, what?
It'll be a little bit shorter.
Yeah. Well, the check will be a little bit smaller, but we're thrilled to be here to present the $2.2 million. Your team is fantastic to work with. You're lucky to have the entire crew, and Whitman is doing a very good job, not only getting the money, but administering the money. And we're just happy to be here to support all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I didn't know sometimes the board wants to ask some questions or do something before we do the photo.
I just thank you. I don't have a question. I just thank you. And of course, Mary Beth and Dan always.
Great. All right, well, thank you. Commissioner Wright is reminding me to show you we have a few Easter eggs on our check that we hope you notice. It's check number 1685. Any guesses why? Plymouth County was founded in 1685.
Oh,
Older than almost any other form of government in the country, right here. You'll notice that so we've got the routing number and the bank number. I'm sorry, the routing bank number is 1221-1620.
Plymouth Rock?
there you go.
When they landed in Plymouth. And the routing number is 521-202. If anybody guesses this, that's a miracle.
I'd say you get an extra grant, but the other time, I'm not worried by that.
That
No.
would have to go through approval and
Any guesses? 521-202.
It's not a date.
Is that when you were commissioner?
Yeah, when I was elected, no. So that is the population of Plymouth County that the census is based on for who gets what amount of money. So it's the population of Plymouth County as of 2019. So a few little Easter eggs there for you. So we can do
Someone's phone number out of my head.
That's okay.
Dan, do you want to say why we had to put those numbers instead of?
I didn't want to, but now that
usually like to.
now I'm going to have to.
Sorry.
That's okay. We presented a live check in the past,
Oh, yeah.
and some folks were very clever, some evildoers, and they blew up the picture in the paper and got our routing number and our bank number and tried to fraudulently cash a check off of our account. So that's why we don't use the actual numbers on the check. So if we could do a quick photo op, maybe in front of the What works for you folks? Standing behind you?
Yeah, we can go behind there.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I was in front there?
No, we'll get behind you.
Okay.
Here I am giving orders again.
It's all right. You bring the money, that's all right.
Let's just stand up.
I feel like I want to be respectful.
Yeah, I was trying to politely say that.
Thank you, Dan.
There you go, yeah.
I think it's wonderful. I am so,
We can do it.
this is beautiful. I could cry.
How about in front of the, will it fit in front?
Yeah, you can probably lie it down in the front.
Look at that, Justin's got it.
Mary Beth's already there.
Put it on a couple chairs.
All right.
Oh, look at that, see?
Oh, there you go.
Elaboration.
We get some quick thinkers here.
Everybody's in.
There you go.
Look at that. No, I think we got, do we have everybody in? I think
Are we in? Are we in? Are we in? Fill in.
Sean, can you squeeze? No, I'm just kidding.
Now, hold on.
I just took 4.
Okay, we need one more, Mary Beth.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you mind if she comes in? Yeah.
No.
No, I have the real check. Yeah. She's looking for the check.
So you want to stand in front with the real check?
Do we have a safe
No, I don't want to
here?
lock the, we can do it right here, if that's okay.
Go ahead, you can get closer.
Yeah. He doesn't fight.
Okay, I want a picture of me handing you the check.
Cover up the numbers, Mary Beth.
Oh, that's right.
All right, and I need one check without me holding it.
Hold the routing
picture.
numbers.
Yeah.
There we go, perfect.
Thank you.
And then I always like to see what the town administrator does with the check.
Yeah, do we have a safe or anything?
Let's go to
The chairman will take it. Oh, God bless you all. Thank you so very much. I should stand up. I'm so sorry.
Hey, I haven't seen you down here.
Yeah, we've been going to Martin's.
Ah,
Thank you very much.
We waited for over an hour.
I see him and father on Sunday.
Thank you.
The opportunity.
I see you, we have a meeting coming up.
Week from Thursday.
Yeah.
Nice seeing you.
Not many people we do that for. Yes, yeah, it's on Zoom.
We'll be back.
No,
That's
I go there.
Okay, we're just doing budget transfers
Yeah,
and
that's
so
right. Yeah, I
should
always
be
go.
quick.
God bless you.
thank you.
Thank you
Yeah, of
so
course.
much. And Mary Beth, she is an asset and a half. She's wonderful.
Absolutely.
She sure is.
For 7 years.
No, I got 7 years.
Look for checks.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you again.
Well, I have been doing it a long
What a nice start.
years.
That was so nice that he recognized you.
Yeah, I've been doing it for 20 years. I support them at
That's
our
very
meetings.
nice. I was happy to hear it.
The next item on the agenda is a public meeting with respect to the application of Prime Auto Sales LLC, Mustafa, is it Sevic? Sevic, is that the way to pronounce it? Mustafa Sevic and Abdurrahman Sevic for a Class II auto dealer's license on the premises located at 454 South Avenue, subject to the receipt of this license fee and final inspection approval of the building commissioner. If approved, act to rescind the Class II auto dealer's license for Midway Automotive Incorporated at the same location. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? It's your chance to say something.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for having us today. My name is Mustafa Sevic, and my brother is Abdurrahman Sevic. We are here today for applying Class 2 auto dealership. I've been in this business for 2 years, and I have my brother dealership is up there in Baraka. We want to broaden our business.
Does anyone have any questions?
I should say welcome. Welcome.
Hey, good luck.
Appreciate it.
And great luck.
Yes, yes, good luck.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Congratulations.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Good luck.
There we go.
We're going to skip over the chairman's report so we can get to the budget update. Because I know Kathy Otina wants to have something to say about it. Mary Beth, do you want to introduce it? And I know that Sean has some things to say.
Okay, absolutely, thank you. So as you know, we have put a 5% increase as a placeholder in the fiscal 2025 budget for the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District assessment. If the district certifies an amount greater than the 5% we have planned for, the board may want to consider a Proposition 2.5 override for any amount requested in excess of the 5%. This would require an additional warrant article for the May fiscal 25 annual town meeting and a ballot question for the May 18th, 2024 annual town election. I suggest that we consider this course of action and plan to include the related agenda items on an upcoming Board of Selectmen's agenda in March to further discuss this issue. So the board does not need to take any action on the two agenda items tonight relating to opening the annual town meeting warrant or placing a ballot question on the May 18th, 2024 annual town election.
Thank you. Sean, did you want to?
Yeah, I'd like to add a little bit if you don't mind. Well, the school committee is in a tough spot. You know, there's a good group of people who are trying to do best by kids and at the same time wrestle with this budget, and they definitely are in a dilemma. Enrollment dropped again. They're still in the hold harmless situation. They spread themselves a little bit thin using one-time money. ESSER is going away, which was used to fund a number of positions, and the state is pulling back on some funding. So they're certainly in a difficult situation, and honestly, the solution isn't clear. Hopefully they can go through the budget and find some ways to save money. I'm sure that would be greatly appreciated by the community. But with the size of the deficit for a level service, it's understandable if they would consider an override, and I think they should have the opportunity to do so. Personally, however, I would like to see an enrollment projection. This is a bit nuanced, but there is a difference between a stable enrollment override and an override that takes place while enrollment continues to drop. So just to put it plainly, like an override that would take place if enrollment was stable, kind of just takes place like a traditional override. But if enrollment continues to drop, and I don't know that that's the case, but if it were to continue to drop, then it's no guarantee, but we would likely, or more likely, be still in the hold harmless situation, which would complicate things moving forward. This is all stuff for those guys to consider and us to consider as we move forward over the next couple months, but something to consider. On the town side, although it would put a significant strain on our departments, it may be advantageous for us to limb through the next couple years because of what we've talked about with the Plymouth County retirement. Remember that the Plymouth County retirement right now is definitely putting a strain on our side of the budget. Significant budget increase, and it's going to be that way for the next 3 or 4 years. We know that to be true. However, after that time, we know that there's going to be a significant drop-off. So now that we know that, and we can kind of project that out, what that's going to do for the town side, it may be advantageous, and I think following Mary Beth's recommendation, that we stay kind of disciplined as opposed to kind of combining with the schools for an override. But again, that's something for us to talk about and consider. The way that you're proposing it now, and that we'll likely vote on at the next meeting, is for it just to be a school override. Correct.
Yeah, the only wrinkle would be, as I understand it, or as I would see it, is that it would be proposed by the Board of Selectmen. We would vote on putting it on the ballot. And whatever we have to do to do that. Not asking the schools to do it like they did the last time.
Yeah, not that. Meaning, do we want time to talk to our department heads to see if it makes sense for us also to piggyback with the schools and ask for an override, or following Mary Beth's recommendation, and one that right now I'm leaning towards, is should we decide to stay disciplined on the town side so that we stay within, like the Madden recommendations, try to stay tight to the 2.5%, make it through the next couple of years until...
Yeah, I think I agree with Mary Beth that that's the way to go. The difference between the 5% and what the schools initially said they needed for a level service budget is great. It's a great difference. It seems to me that needs. the consideration of an override in order to have it work, in order for it to have the schools work. So my feeling is that as the Board of Selectmen, we should propose putting that on the as a ballot question and see what happens.
And so I guess my concern right now is that at our last meeting, we had a budget presentation that showed that the town departments, non-school departments, however you want to consider it, are also not living within the Madden recommendations. They're, over the last couple of years, as well as this year, the projected increases are greater than what we think we can afford for any given department. As long as that, unless at the last department head meeting, a bunch of department heads volunteered places where we can cut, that's probably still the case. So it would be difficult to say that this is an override driven by the need of the schools if the town departments can't get their budgets into a sustainable growth either. I guess we've got a couple of weeks to work that out, but that's kind of where my head's at here. And I guess the other concern is that for this to work, Hanson would also need to pass an override just for the schools. Otherwise, we're passing an override that can't be spent, I don't think.
I think that's one of the reasons why I think discussing it early and making it public really does set the tone. I think in years past, for whatever reason, I know it was really complex, but it seemed to be more reactive, or we had kind of trouble with anyone kind of taking the lead. I think if we do this, we're sending a clear message about what our intentions are. And I also, to Justin's point about the town side budgets, I think with the vote next week as it's currently structured, meaning if it was just a school-wide override, then we are also kind of committing to being disciplined on the town side. The two go hand in hand. Otherwise, we restructure the potential.
Yeah. Mary Beth, you want to give your
Just-
2 cents?
If you don't mind,
Please.
Mr. Chairman. So on one point, you talked about the pension liability, and that is set to end in 2029 if the Plymouth County Retirement Board does not vote to extend that a year or two or whatever. But right now, you're correct. There will be a big drop-off in, 2030. It wouldn't be realized till then if the schedule doesn't change. So that's light at the end of the tunnel, but it is a few years down the road. As far as the language and the article and where we stand right now, I did have a department head meeting last Thursday with all the department heads, and, they saw quite clearly where we are. I did ask if anybody, had an area that they thought maybe they could, help me trim the budget. And if I didn't hear from them, that I would have to, go through it best I could to reduce the budget. So I think in a couple of weeks, we'll know a lot more. I'll be able to really work on that budget, reduce that as best I can to get that down. And also, I think by the time we maybe have the next meeting, the school may have met to certify their budget and see what number they come in at. I mean, that's the unknown right now. I mean, yes, I'm hoping it's 5%, but I see this as being proactive rather than reactive, this suggestion.
Right. Kathleen?
Okay, so I appreciate the difficulties. As a FinCom member, I know the gap, the town gap, and the school is part of the town, but the school is taken separately because it's so big. I question the legality of forcing an override on the schools. As I learned back in 2020 when we did the statutory method and the 1/12th budget if the two towns didn't approve the compromise, towns can't cut the school budget. They can either accept it or not accept it. But we can't, as a town, say to the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District, we're going to give you $63 million, and we're going to give you $500,000 in an override. We as a town don't have that right. So I really question the legality of suggesting that the school budget can be segregated into what the town is capable of funding within the 5%, and then the rest will be put on an override. So, I'm just becoming aware of this agenda item right now, so I need to process it some more, but I really question, is this even a legal method of addressing a shortfall in the school budget, a so-called shortfall?
Yeah, it was considered a legal approach in, 2006?
16.
2016.
And the same course of action was taken then and was put before council and so forth. But we would do that all again as well, just to make sure the language, hasn't changed, the legal language or anything.
Right,
In
and
2016, didn't the initiative come from the schools?
It did.
They passed a
So-
budget, and then they passed, and if you give us this, we can keep the following positions.
Yeah, so-
This isn't coming from the schools.
no, so to be clear, this would be with the cooperation of the schools. If the schools aren't in agreement with this structure, then we would have to pivot. It would be a different approach. But we're trying to be proactive, saying this is kind of the way we would like to move forward. But if they said a strong, no, we don't agree, then you're right. I don't think we'd be able to force it,
Has Jeff Simonek been involved in this discussion of, let's talk about an override if the schools come in over 5%?
This is the opening of the discussion.
Okay, thank you.
Rosemary.
Rosemary Conley, also Finance Committee, 405 Franklin Street. So schools have autonomy over their budget, and even if it's a regional school or not. And the reason for that autonomy is there are so many laws and requirements they have to meet. So it isn't just it's one of the reasons you're supposed to put your school budget first. And I think, Sean Kane, you did come into Finance Committee and handed out a best practice flyer. You were pointing out one aspect of it, but the first line was the first budget you look at is schools. So you're not in this position. I want to talk about what happens if the schools put forward a budget that meets those legal requirements and meets students' needs, and it still does not meet what you want. Do you have a secondary budget or set? Because it's going to come out of all of your other budgets. I just feel like this might be a little bit dangerous and almost theatrical and not really proper budgeting. You're supposed to be using your school budget first.
So I can actually address that. We talked about this a little bit in the past. So yes, the schools have autonomy. The budget that they certify has to be printed on our warrant, and the selectmen have to present a balanced budget to town meeting. So if the schools assess us at 11% increase, we have to put forward a balanced budget that includes $600,000+ in cuts from last year to the town side of the equation. So that's what we're legally bound to do.
The secondary, preliminary budget would be put forth.
The budget that the budget the Finance Committee would vote on would be that budget.
Secondary budget.
John.
Galvin, 41 High Street. That's a huge point that Mr. Evans just made. If the schools, first of all, let's look at the school's budget, okay? So what was given us for the schools for a level service budget? And on their document 0, which is their kind of overview, they put out a scenario 2, which is scenario 2 was what would it look like if the towns were assessed at 5%. And it was about a $1.9 million deficit the schools would be in if the towns were assessed in what the towns have said they can afford, 5%, which Whitman's actually been saying for years. That's what we can sustain. If you look at what's causing this deficit, it's clearly a revenue issue with the schools. It's not just the $800,000 worth of ESSER or the $500,000 worth of E&D that they used. They're also being told by the state or estimating their revenue from the state and federal other grants to be short of almost another $400,000. State cherry sheets, they're saying over $125,000. If you add those all up, it's basically the $1.9 million deficit that the schools are saying they would have if the towns are funding at 5% assessment. So it's clearly a revenue issue with them. They've lost all of this, not just the one time, but also the grants. I think it was mentioned earlier. All of those grants they're forecasting in their revenue are gone. So that's even before we talk about all the contractual agreement raises and all of that. That money's just in lost revenue alone. Now let's talk about the teachers' raises and all the other stuff that has to get funded. How can the towns possibly consider, even think about being able to handle that without an override? The override, in my opinion, it's because of the revenue shortfall of the school. Yeah, there's a town at 5%, there's a town shortfall right now, but that's being based on
trying to grow the town budget, trying to add certain positions, cover shifts, whatever, things that I think can be addressed or will have to be addressed. But in the school's shortfall, they're going to lose jobs. Okay? I mean, I can't imagine why the school wouldn't want to work with us on this. This is really the only way the schools have a chance. If the school decides to go at the full 11%, then these guys back here and the DPW and the library and all of them somebody's going to lose jobs if this override doesn't go through. So I think it's important that the schools get on board and start working very closely with us, and hopefully Hanson gets on board, because if Hanson doesn't get on board, then I don't know what'll happen. But anyway, thank you.
Thank you, John. So you don't think it's theatrical, John, to talk about
I do not. No.
about overrides?
Point of order. Can you specify what you mean schools? Because we have I think 4 schools, regional schools that we fund. We have no actual schools. These are separate entities from the town, all giving us a bill, every single one of them. So what are we talking about? Are we talking about our entire school pie budget, or are we talking about the school that actually is the cheapest per student? Our best deal, probably the solution to paying less, not the problem. So what are we talking about here? Can we have a point of order clarification? Are we only talking about one of these regional schools, or our entire school payout from all of those? Because we have South Shore Tech, regional school exactly like Whitman Hanson. And I think that's what, over $200,000 a student. And then we have Whitman Hanson is much less than that per student. So can we have a clarification? Is it all of the schools that were going in for an override, or just Whitman Hanson?
I think we were just, you can check me if I'm wrong, but I think we were just thinking about the Whitman Hanson schools.
So is there a reason we're singling this particular regional school out?
Yeah, because they're asking us for a lot more money than we think we have.
But we didn't question any of the other increases?
At some point, the taxpayers have to take some responsibility for that.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you.
You said 200,000.
So I'll add to that just a little bit too. It should be noted that, South Shore Tech, the increase that we're seeing is primarily due because of an increase in enrollment. Same thing with Norfolk Aggie, where with Whitman Hanson, the enrollment is decreasing. The fact that they're in the hold harmless situation makes it very difficult for us. I mean, obviously, even if we didn't take into account the one-time money, the fact that cost of living is going up at a cost of living rate, and the state's only given us, less than 1%, obviously it's going to create a budget gap. And that budget gap is really at the root of our budgetary concerns right now, which I think speaks to the way that the language was written on. You can see the language written on today's agenda that we're not voting on, but we're considering, which speaks directly to Whitman Hanson.
Mr. Chairman, Bob Kimball, 877 Auburnville Way, Unit G1. Point of order is, the previous speaker said that if we vote this override for the schools, then later on we can take it back. That's not going to happen.
No.
Because you vote an override, it gives you the base taxes. It doesn't matter if it's spent for the schools, fire department, or whatever. My taxes go up, and I know on the finance committee, if I've got money to spend and they do a great job, we're going to spend it if we have it. Secondly, the previous speaker said that the enrollment's going down. It's nice to have a level service budget, but let's make some cuts someplace. How many people have we hired in the town in the last 4 or 5 years, additional positions? We've hired some additional positions. The school department has got some additional positions due to the funding from COVID, so on and so forth. Let's them do some cuts. I don't like to see cuts coming, and it's not the people, it's the positions. Many, many years ago, I was on a finance committee in a bigger town. We cut one big administration off the school, saved a lot of money. Let's take a look at the overall school budget, see where we can cut. And, 11% is a lot. Maybe we can go 7%. But let them try to cut their budget because they're getting a decreased enrollment. And, Everything is fine, and we've been adding a lot of things in the last year. Maybe we can't afford it. There are a lot of senior citizens in this community that are having trouble because we passed the DPW, we passed the schools, we were going to get all this money from the marijuana things. We haven't seen a penny of that. So let's really tighten our budget and take a real good look at all the budgets. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else have anything to add? We'll come back to this at our next meeting. Now, our next meeting will probably be March 12th. But aren't the schools certifying their budget on the 13th? Pardon me?
Next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday you are. And that's,
I'm not speaking for the school.
no, I know, but that's,
The 28th.
so it's next,
They
okay,
have to certify it by the 20th.
of March.
March.
Right.
So they may certify it next Wednesday, but they don't have to until March 20th.
Okay. And once they certify it, they can't do anything to it unless they have another meeting.
Yeah, they'd have to have another meeting.
Okay.
So this information is helpful for them.
So our next meeting is the 12th.
2 weeks
So
from now.
it'll be before they have to certify the budget. Would it make sense to push it off to the 26th?
We could do that.
I think what we did tonight is we put it on people's headboards that there are some issues and we may have to be looking at an override. And that's what we wanted people to be aware of, rather than to have it sneak up on them in April or May. Okay. So maybe we should have the discussion. Do we have time to have the discussion on the 26th?
Be the 27th, next Tuesday?
Whatever, 27th.
We could, yes, I think that we would have time and we would
All right.
know. I think that Sean has a.
Oh, I didn't mean, I can
No,
wait. That's
that's
okay.
okay.
I was just thinking of, we currently have in the language no dollar amount, with the idea that as long as we had the language on the warrant, then we could include the dollar amount, hopefully, if it was last minute, or included at a later date. So from my perspective, the information that could be helpful is more specific information from department heads about how staying at 2.5% within your original budget message, how that's going to affect their specific budgets. That might be helpful. But otherwise,
So you think having a meeting on the 12th to discuss this further rather than the 26th?
I think earlier is better. Personally, I'd rather be
Okay,
proactive.
and then we can, 12, we'll put it on for the 12th.
For discussion.
Of March?
Yeah, 12th of March. Meetings in March will be the 12th and 26th, does that make sense? We'll also get that done now?
Yeah.
Because of the primary,
Yeah,
normally 2 weeks
right.
would be the 5th, so we'll
Right.
push it out. That's,
Are we
sounds
still
great.
meeting, are we still meeting on the 20th
The 20th.
of, no, today's the 20th, no, right,
Today's the 20th.
right,
Yes, we are.
Next meeting will be the 12th,
okay,
March 12th, and then the 26th.
okay.
Okay.
I got so many meetings.
Okay, we're done with this topic then. New business. Act on the application of Sunlight Auto Sales Incorporated, Maureen Foley, to change the name of the business on the Class II auto dealer's license on the premises located at 909 Temple Street to Sunlight Auto Sales Incorporated, doing business as Auto Advisors and Associates. If approved, act to rescind the Class II auto dealer's license currently held by Ms. Foley at 909 Temple Street. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Act on the request of Town Clerk Don Varley to sign the warrant for the March 5th, 2024 presidential primary election.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Act to appoint, and I hope I pronounce this name correctly, because if I don't, I can never go home again. Act to appoint Kristen Koshevsky. Is she here? Oh, well, that's what her name's going to be today. Act to appoint Kristen Koshevsky to the position of Member Whitman, Recreation Commission, for the remainder of a 3-year term through June 30th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Act on the request of DPW Superintendent Bruce Martin to declare the following as surplus material to be disposed of by public auction or by other means of disposal if there is no value: a 2002 Ford F-350 dump, VIN number 1FDWF37552ED10681, and Salso Incorporated Mini Paver, model number 05004, serial number 02091000050040179.
So moved.
Second.
Very good.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Excellent.
Act on the request of Homestead Harvest, Liz Wilson, to change the date of a one-day liquor license previously approved for February 14th, 2024 to March 26th, 2024. The previous event was canceled due to the weather.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Act on the request of Homestead Harvest for a one-day liquor license for an open mic night on, this is different, on March 9th, 2024, from 6 to 8 p.m., a 20-person maximum event.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
And the next item on the agenda, we're holding off until the next meeting. And we've set the March meeting schedule for March 12th and March 26th. Old business. Is there any old business? Town administrator's report.
Yes, so the Assistant Town Administrator, Kathy Keith, and I have some information here, would like to update the board on the status of the MBTA district, the zoning district.
Yes, good evening. So in order to be compliant with Section 3A of the Zoning Act, a new requirement for the MBTA communities to have at least one zoning district in which multifamily housing is allowed as of right, the Whitman Planning Board, through grants from the Massachusetts Housing Partnership, has been working with Barrett Planning Group to put forth a zoning bylaw amendment. According to the timeline put forth by the Planning Board to have this bylaw placed on the warrant for the annual town meeting, the Planning Board will hold a public hearing on April 8th, 2024, after which they will send it to the Board of Selectmen to be voted on April 9th, 2024. So we ask that the board maintain availability to meet on April 9th for this purpose. We'd like to thank the Massachusetts Housing Partnership for the funds expended on Whitman's behalf in order to achieve compliance with the Zoning Act. Also, the Planning Board will also be holding a public hearing in March to approve the language change in the general and zoning bylaws from Board of Selectmen to Select Board.
Okay. Is there a motion to handle what Kathy just said?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of accepting Kathy's report? Thank you, Kathy.
One, actually, probably should have done it in discussion, but one thing to add to that, if I could, Chair. We also have to refer this to the Bylaw Study Committee. I did a little bit of digging, and under a vote that the Board of Selectmen took in November 24th of 1998, the Bylaw Study Committee is charged with examining and making recommendations in connection with all bylaws for the town. So, because we're changing a zoning bylaw, we should get a recommendation from the Bylaw Study Committee.
Great. So let's have a motion to pass this on to them.
I believe that's what Mary Beth's about to, ask for.
Yes, and the zoning bylaw committee is planning on meeting next Tuesday, so that would be great if we could.
Okay.
So we need a motion to get recommendations from the bylaw study committee before we make a...
At least before town meeting, yeah.
Yeah. All right, I'll make that motion. That way we can put it back on the schedule.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
So we're still the Board of Selectmen then, right?
Yes.
Are you surprised I voted motion, Dave?
Okay, I think that exhausts the regular part of the meeting. We need to go into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Exemption 2, to conduct strategy sessions and preparations for negotiations with non-union personnel. And that personnel is the fire chief. We will not be coming back into open. We'll come back into open session only to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, vote to go into executive session?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we're out of here.